Hi everyone, welcome back along to the channel today, and today you join me in my loft. So excuse the harsh lighting and the tight space, but the reason why I'm in my loft today is because I've been out shooting with some Ilford Harman Direct positive paper. Now with the darkroom papers you can use them under a red safe light, so you can open them up and basically see what you're doing as long as the main light's off and everything else is sealed. So I've not actually used and shot with papers for a long while. When I got started I made a lot of cameras, so you get like the can cameras. This is my first pinhole camera which used paper. You can put the papers into solar to do some real long exposures. So paper's a really good way, and if you're getting started into pinhole photography it's a fantastic thing to start with. Developing it is a lot easier. You just need some trays, so you just chuck it in with a bit of developer, and you can actually watch it develop, which is so much nicer than normal film. For normal film you've got to be in complete and utter darkness when putting it into the holders, taking it back out, then loading it into the tank. So it's a lot more fiddly, more time consuming, and probably more expensive. So today I have been out shooting this. I'll talk you through it as I go, and hopefully we'll get some good shots today. So I decided to head to a local castle, one I've been to several times on a pinhole camera, but I wanted to try a view with the positive paper from this sort of angle here, because you kind of get a bit of a face in the side of the castle there. So I set my zero image 4x5 up here, had this on the 50mm setting. With the paper you don't want to go too wide. I'll demonstrate it towards the end of the video, as you do get some really harsh vignetting with it. So to meter using the paper I just use this app, and Ilford recommend to use an ISO between 1 and 3. I selected 3 ISO, and with an aperture of f180 I allowed for around a 2.5 minute exposure. That was to hopefully try and bring a bit of the detail out in the shadowed areas. So once I'd got my composition set up and ready, I set my timer up, removed the dark slide, and shot away. So finishing off this first exposure, this was the image I got from that. Now I feel I've got to explain a few things about this because it's not obviously correct. The composition I think looks fine. I expected the green to be very dark, very contrasty, but the watery effect over it I think is more, well, is from my developing. Now I don't normally develop paper, and I didn't really look into it much prior to doing this, so I kind of just chucked it all together and chucked it in. Now what Ilford recommend on their data sheets is 20 degrees for 1.5 to 3 minutes. The water I used was definitely way colder than that, and I didn't actually time any of the process, so I have no idea how long it was in for. It recommends a stop bath, which I didn't do at all, and then it recommends a fixer for 1 minute at 20 degrees. Again, the water I used was way colder than that, and I didn't time how long it was in for. And then it recommends a wash for around 60 minutes, which I definitely didn't do. I just kind of threw it in a bucket of water and quickly rinsed it. under a tap. So everything I have done isn't what Ilf would recommend, but I thought I would just do it and just see how bad it could go. So clearly it's not worked out great. This is probably the worst out of all the images, but hey, this is how you learn. So after the castle, I quickly popped over to this church. Again, it's one I've been to before, and I came across this cross. I decided on a composition, kind of looking up. The exposure times from the other angle were quite long, and I kind of wanted something into the light to keep them a bit shorter. So I had an exposure time on this of around 1 minute. So I positioned the camera just looking up to it, hopefully getting some of the ivy that was wrapped around it as well. So finishing off this exposure, this is the final result. It's actually come out not too bad. I probably should have gone much closer in with the camera to get a bit more detail. I was expecting it to be this contrasty as you normally do with the paper, but overall I kind of know where I am partly with this now and what to maybe try next time. So heading further around the church a little bit, I wanted to try and get an image of this view with the door. It's one I have photographed before, so I switched up to the 75mm, the 3 layers with the 0 image, and I was kind of thinking with the paper it'd probably bring out more texture and contrast and the detail in the brickwork and on the wooden door. I had a metered reading of around 2 minutes, which was quite nice. Thankfully throughout this exposure I had the sun on it the whole time, which kept that exposure time down a little bit. So finishing that exposure here, and this is the final result from that. And the brickwork looks good. I think what I was thinking it would come out like it did. Unfortunately, the composition is sloppy. It's at an angle. Something wider might have worked better. It's really not one I would go around sharing much, but that's what that was. It's a learning curve is what I'll do with that one, and won't do it again. So as the sun had started to drop, I decided to head to the beach. The exposure times around the castle and the church are becoming a bit too long. So what I wanted to demonstrate here was how much the paper will vignette the wider you go. So what I decided was to do 3 shots at 3 different layers on the 0 image. I was going to do my shot here and then realised the tide was heading in, so I set up a little bit further up the beach. So I found a spot I was safe from the tide, and so for my first shot I had 75mm, and that gave me an exposure time of 4 minutes. So when that was done, I put the dark slide back in and removed the layer, which made the camera a little bit wider, and put a new film holder in. And for this exposure, that was 2 minutes long. And when that one had finished, again I removed another layer of the camera, so it was at super wide now, 25mm. And for this I had an exposure time of 1 minute. So finishing them 3 images off, and these are the final results. This was the 75mm, nice and even all the way across. Again, excuse the developing marks. 50mm, it's got quite a heavy vignette around it, but it's something that could work for a lot of images. And the 25mm is just really bad. It's definitely not one to ever really use. Anyway, that was about all I had time for the day. The sun was pretty much going, so I couldn't get anything else. So this is when I headed home and got the photos done. Now a little bit about developing positive paper. For one, it is really fun and easy to do. All you need is a tray of developer, a stop bath and some fixer in another tray. And if you have them all at around 20 degrees, you throw the paper into the developer for around 1.5 to 3 minutes, agitating it every now and then you move it over into a stop bar for 10 seconds and then into the fixer for another minute, and then you run it through a wash. Ilford recommend to wash it for around 60 minutes, which seems quite extreme. Personally, all I've ever done in the past is wash it around for around 5 minutes. Mostly I end up just scanning it, and the thing with the positive paper, you can just chuck it onto a flatbed scanner and just scan it straight up from that. You don't need a film scanner, and then you can open it up into anything and just tweak about if you want to. So it's a really nice process to do, and all you need is a darkened room. You can darken out a bathroom easily enough if you've got a little bit of loft space, and then just a red light. You can buy a safe light or just use a bicycle light, works pretty much just as well. So everyone, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed. They're not obviously the best photos, so make sure you go check out my other videos for some better images. But coming up on the channel in the next few months probably, as I've been making this, I've had a message to say my new pinhole camera has been dispatched and should hopefully be with me in the next coming weeks. I'll also be going out again with the positive paper and comparing it directly to some film. So I'll be setting up my camera, doing one onto the direct positive and one onto some film to see how different they look compared side by side and how different they are shooting them together. And also I have another pinhole camera coming to me in end of December, I think, which is on a tour of the UK, and I'm going to have that for a few weeks to get some images with and then pass it on to someone else. There'll be more on that soon as well. So hopefully the next few weeks, months, there should be plenty going on. So again, thank you for watching, thank you for all your support, and I'll see you next time I'm out.